Well, now it's not muted. But hey, hi, hello, guys. It's Jamali Senpai here. Right now, we're doing a very exciting. I'm excited to do it. A discourse on Ketanji Brown Jackson, the new nominee pick from President Biden for the Supreme Court. We're not going to look at any videos or anything like that. That's not for the scope of this particular video that is going up on YouTube. But if you are on YouTube, I implore you to try and catch me live Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for new discourses each of those days at around 5 o'clock EST PM. Probably should have put the PM first. But if you guys are watching me on YouTube, try to catch me live so you can interact with me. It's very fun, I think, to have people who can either ask me questions or lead the conversation in a way that cannot see from my perspective. But for the most part, this one is a pretty open and shut one. I don't think this video will be very long. And if you are here on Twitch and you are stopping by or you can't catch the whole thing, or if you missed my Twitch stream, it will be uploaded to YouTube on the same day of having said discourse. So today is Thursday, March 24th, and that will be uploaded literally in about an hour. This video will be uploaded in literally about an hour. After I'm finished recording it, and I don't edit these or anything, so it's not going to take long. But let's get into it. Ketanji Brown Jackson is the Supreme Court nominee for Biden, and we're going to pretty much assess the nature of her tendencies and the nature of a lot of her record. Of course, her record and what she's done in terms of academics and then the amount of positions she's held and stuff. And we're not even going to go that in depth into it because I really like to encourage people to do their own research on these things. And while I will bring up and address a lot of the main points that I think would be whether or not she qualifies for the position of Supreme Court judge, we are still going to allow people to make their own judgments and give them just a tidbit. And I'm not gonna lie, this is, we're gonna definitely show a little bit of bias here. I can't help but show a little bit of bias for this young, beautiful black woman. But we're gonna get into this. I have a couple things written down and stuff, so we're just gonna go off of that, as well as use the instances from the articles that we've read to bring home further opinions and things like that. So all of the links for every article I will use as per every video will be in the description in the YouTube video down below, as well as posted in my Discord channel. It's called Discourse. It's the Discourse channel in Discord, my Discord. If you don't know, you can always go there, find my Discord either in the link down below in the YouTube description section or through my Twitch channel, which has the Discord link down below, or you can just type !Discord in the chat and you'll be able to find those links there. So let's get into it. Let's look at the first things that I have written down here, because I think that there are plenty of things that we can go over, but I did want to particularly order this so that it was a little less jumbled than previous videos, and as well to highlight certain things that I find particularly admirable about this person. So if you haven't been paying attention to the news cycle, you know that Ketanji Brown Jackson has pretty much been lambasted by different people in the committee overseeing whether or not they would approve her for the Supreme Court pick. People like Lindsey Graham, Ted Mother Flippin' Cruz, and what is his name? Hawley, the stupid dude that was supporting Trump during the January 6th stuff. Really weird guy. And they are pretty much grilling her a lot of the time, and you see in a lot of the videos little highlights and snippets that you do get from certain news organizations that does seem pretty one-sided in terms of how people are treating her, and you can tell that they're not treating her with any level of decorum or respect as per her title. And I think that's very telling, and I can probably guesstimate as to why that might be. without saying anything, without speaking the silent part out loud, obviously, there seems to be a very, very poignant reason as to why they would be so hard on grilling her. Now, she is Biden's nominee pick, so you could say it's just a political game. Maybe. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that one. So let's go ahead and get into what we've have written down here. So from the New York Times, and this is going to be quoted. I'm going to read this whole thing, give my opinion on it. From the New York Times, it has, questioning of President Biden's nominee by Republicans grew increasingly hostile as they stepped up their criticism of what they portrayed as a pattern of leniency in her sentencing of child sex abusers and tried to paint her as a liberal on issues of race, gender, and guns and abortion rights. In one particular heated exchange, Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, pressed Judge Jackson about why she had not been tougher on consumers of child sex abuse imagery, saying that this view has put their ass in jail. That his view was put their ass in jail. Judge Jackson outlined how such cases had changed since Congress passed a law that enhanced sentences based on the number of images found in a defendant's possessions. At the time of the law, such images primarily came through the mail, and the number of images indicated the lengths of which a person had gone to attain them. But she tried to explain over Mr. Graham's repeated interruptions. In the internet age, huge stores of images can be acquired with a few clicks of a mouse. You can be doing this for 15, and this is a quote from Katanji, from Judge Jackson. You can be doing this for 15 minutes, and all of a sudden you are looking at 30, 40, 50 years in prison, she said. Mr. Graham interjected, saying, good, absolutely good. This comes from the moral stance that a lot of Republicans and most people, I think, feel in regards to child abuse, and most people find it to be abhorrent, and I would hope that most people do. And they find offenders of such abhorrent things to be guilty of the worst kind of crimes and should be sentenced to the most and maximum amount of time at all times. And it was something that we've talked about a lot in terms of, how we treat people who are people of abuse, not just how we treat the people who have been abused, the children who have been abused, but how we treat the people who are abusing these children, and how we just particularly view people, human beings, who ultimately, as far as we could tell, might have some sort of either both a genetic bearing as well as environmental bearing as to why they might be attracted to children, and just outright condemning them as a whole and wishing death upon these human beings and people that have been either abused themselves or the victim of some sort of, or not the victim of anything. I don't think that's the case, but they would be the victim of abuse either as a child or as an adult, but people who may find themselves abusing power positions that they have over other people who also happen to be children, which both abhorrent. Obviously, we don't take a stance that defends these people, but there is a lot of, very blinders on approach to how we deal with the specific case of people who are using or has child sex abuse images in their possession and things like that, which I think calls for a little more nuance into those situations. And as much as people would hate to hear that, I don't think that necessarily sentencing someone to the maximum amount of time for something like this is the right way to do it. I think rehabilitation and things that are ultimately going to encourage people to not abuse children is probably the best bet. And I don't think that necessarily giving people jail time is that way. Or giving people like extremely long sentences is that way. Jackson defended herself multiple times against the allegation and saying, I looked at the facts and I looked at the law and the facts. I made sure that the children's perspectives were represented, and I also imposed prison terms and significant supervision and other restrictions on those defendants. Democrats on the committee also defended Jackson's decisions, noting that most prison sentences handed out by judges in these kinds of cases were below the guidelines. An opinion piece in a National Review, a conservative magazine, called Hawley's allegations a smear and appears meritless to the point of demagoguery. The White House and others have accused Hawley of employing a QAnon signaling smear. Once again, this is not something that I'm surprised about. The attempt to smear this person on the basis of them doing their job as a judge and sentencing people, and as what we've just read, apparently, and once again, there'll also be links to all of these articles, that most prison sentences handed out by judges in these kinds of cases were below the guidelines. So it's not something unfamiliar to judges of that would be dealing with these cases, other than this person, other than Judge Jackson. Sorry. I think that is very clearly telling us that they obviously have some sort of bias against her. And once again, you could always go back to the point in case and say, oh, well, they're just grilling her like this because it's a Biden pick. If it was a Republican pick, they obviously wouldn't be grilling her like this. But I think that there's a lot to be said about whether or not that's acceptable. Politics is such a team game that they're willing to overlook the fact that this person has a lot of qualifications that would make her a perfect fit for this job. And they're just gonna lambast her and smear her for the sake of making her seem unqualified or getting the public opinion to shift away from accepting this person, which is very disgusting. And we are not really surprised by the fact that people like Hawley or Ted Cruz or Lindsey Graham or any of these people are portraying and doing these sorts of acts, because we know that they are very much on the side of the Republican, and they will not allow anything on the Democratic side to even have a remote chance of looking good if they have the chance. At one point during the hearing, the Republican National Committee sent out an image of Jackson, and with KBJ, her initials, crossed out and replaced with CRT. I've seen this image. This is also another attempt to smear her and make her seem as she is a liberal and wants to affect the court's decisions by making liberal things more prevalent, like teaching our kids CRT. Can we just acknowledge that CRT is not something that is actually taught to children? That is something that is taught in not high school. That is a college level course. Like, critical race theory is something that is taught in colleges as a way of explaining or a way of studying ways to examine how minorities are treated and affected in this country. Very valid. Nothing invalid about that. That's a very reasonable thing to want to have a course for, to study. And I think it was created back in like the 70s or the 80s or something. I wish I knew more on offhand right now. I don't want to look it up because I have a lot of other things to do. And I don't want this video to be too long, as I keep saying in every video, as it continues to be over 30 minutes. But that is something that is very on brand. I could have told you that this was going to happen from the moment Biden had said that he wanted to appoint a black woman for the Supreme Court. I could have told you that. The New York Times, a New York Times article has it said that Judge Jackson, wow, that's actually kind of a tongue twister. Judge Jackson, that's hard. If there was any reason not to have her on the Supreme Court, that would be it. No, I'm kidding. Judge Jackson, a Harvard graduate who is completing a 6-year term on the university's board of overseers, said that if she was confirmed, she would recuse herself from a marquee case, a challenge to Harvard's race-conscious admissions policies that the court will consider in its next term, which starts in October. Mr. Hawley repeatedly demanded that Judge Jackson say whether she regretted giving a slap on the wrist to another offender, Wesley Hawkins, who Mr. Hawley said was arrested again after his release. Her reply was, "What I regret is that in a hearing about my qualifications to be a justice on the Supreme Court, we have spent a lot of time focusing on this small subset of my sentences." Judge Jackson said that she handed down sentences some longer than 25 and 30 years in more than 100 cases. I said what I'm going to say about these cases, she said at one point. No one case can stand in for a judge's entire record. And I don't think that they would allow this to be a thing in other people's case. I think that most judges for a long time, who have been judges for extremely long times, have sentences that probably vary from like a low sentencing to high sentencing for almost the same case. It really does depend on what the sentence is or what the actual crime is. And we should be praising her instead of condemning her for showing leniency in cases where she believes there should be leniency, while still throwing the book at people who she believes does not deserve leniency. She's a great judge of character based off of those things alone. And if you want to go ahead and bring up the one person that Mr. Hawley had brought up and said Wesley Hawkins was arrested again after his release, well, guess what? There are plenty of other criminals and plenty of other people who have been given short sentences by judges all over the country, whether they be Republican, Democratic, Independent, or whatever the case is. And guess what? I'm pretty sure they were also repeat offenders. We want to talk about repeat offenders. Why don't we talk about the way our prison system is actually set up and how it's not set up to stop people from reoffending, how it's not set up to rehabilitate people and make them adjust properly to society so that they don't end up back in prison. Let's talk about that instead, because I feel like that would be a bigger issue to face than to grill Miss Jackson on the fact that one person that she had given a slap on the wrist to, as Hawley puts it, ended up back in jail. Be real here. Let's be honest, instead of being dishonest, scaly, slimy people who just want to see someone get demeaned and hopefully not put in a position where she could actually do some good work. But of course, it's only because she's a Biden nominee. It's not because of her skin color. I promise. It's not because she's a woman. It can't be because she's a woman. They just accepted Amy Coney or Amy whatever Barrett her name is in the last time, right? Like, it's not her sex at all, and it definitely isn't her race. No. That's insane. That's asinine. I want to be able to say that honestly, like, all jokes aside, I want to be able to say that it's not based on her race, but it's really, really hard when all you see are these white people and Ted fucking Cruz go ahead and just blasting her on things that has nothing to do with her qualifications on whether or not she should be a Supreme Court justice. It's incredibly rude and incredibly disrespectful, and there's no way that they had any intention of showing any decorum. And I think they said they were going to be as fair and everything as possible, and ended up being absolutely the worst kinds of people. Going on, from a CNN article, Jackson has served as an assistant federal public defender, a commissioner on the U.S. Sentencing Commission, a lawyer in private practices, and on 2 prestigious federal courts. But we're questioning her judgment sentences. We're questioning her judgment on sentences and whether or not she's qualified. Are you kidding me? Look, what? Most of the justices on the Supreme Court right now don't have these qualifications. What? President Barack Obama would go on to nominate Jackson to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, which she joined in 2013. For that confirmation hearing, she was introduced by well-known Republican Wisconsin's Paul Ryan, who would go on to become Speaker of the House and who happened to be related to her by marriage. Jackson's husband's twin brother is married to the sister of Ryan's wife. I know she is clearly qualified, Ryan said, but it bears repeating just how qualified she is. And this is coming from a Republican, a well-known Republican at that. Our politics may differ, but my praise for Ketanji's intellect, for her character, for her integrity is unequivocal. Now, if only the rest of the Republicans at this committee hearing would be so kind and so open to objectively asking Judge Jackson, in good faith, the merit of her qualifications and whether or not she thinks she's actually qualified to be on the Supreme Court. An example of outstanding integrity and showcasing how certain people in this country that happen to be black oftentimes represent the values of this country better than a majority white men have when elected to positions of power. And in the face of racism, both overt and discreet, she still perseveres through all of it. And that is such a brilliant story. And it's such a brilliant person to back. I cannot see anything from what I've looked up about this person that would detail or at least lead to me believing that she may be a bad person or someone who has bad faith intentions on influencing the Americans' legal system, which I don't think she really has the power to do that as much as people think she does. Her appointment as a judge would only be to preside over cases that hold extreme values that she thinks may be either interfering with the Constitution and how it's represented, or interfering with the rights of the human beings living in this country. She says presidents are not kings in a 2019 opinion, adding that the Trump administration's assertion that it had absolute testimonial immunity protecting its senior level aides is a proposition that cannot be squared with core constitutional values and cannot be sustained. She concluded that the United States government has a government of laws, not of men. And that is so beautiful and such a poignant sentence to make in a world where we just went through a presidency that seemed to have levels of corruption just as much as any other presidency might have levels of corruption, but was so blatant. It was so blatant and overt that it wasn't even being hidden. Like, Trump was, for all intents and purposes, a pretty eye-opening experience of what people in this country think and believe. And a lot of people think and believe the things that he was saying, which is why even in 2020, he got so many votes, okay? It's not like the country isn't divided. It's the most divided it's ever been, and it's only gotten worse since Obama has been elected. Whether or not Ketanji Brown Jackson is qualified or not, they have not treated her with the level of respect and dignity that someone who was even being nominated for this position deserves. And it was seen how when the previous people who were nominated, Amy Barrett and I think Kavanaugh, were questioned, they were grilled, I guess, but they weren't actually lambasted. They weren't hit with smear campaigns from Democrats. It was, well, maybe Kavanaugh, but only because he probably had some really bad sexual assault histories, which is sus as hell. But that's not the point of this video. We'll talk about that in another discourse maybe. But the point I'm making is that this is a person that obviously is qualified for this position. And the fact that they're trying to smear her is only to speak to the fact that these people are playing a game. They're playing a game. They know midterms is up. They don't want to elect, or they don't want to accept Biden's pick into the Supreme Court because they don't want the Supreme Court to be liberal, as they would put it. And I think that that's disgusting. I think if you're gonna judge someone based on their merits, do it on the individual level. See what that person is about. Ask them actual, genuine questions, and not questions like, do you think this book says that babies are racist? Ted Cruz. Do you and then get into arguments about whether or not you have the right to continue speaking after going over your time because you decided to waste your time on talking about a stupid fucking book. And I'm sorry I cursed. I'm trying not to. I'm trying my hardest not to curse in these videos for monetization reasons on YouTube. But I don't really see how people could sit here and look at those videos of them questioning her and say that, yeah, these are all fair questions. But I could, if you were a certain type of individual who had a particular bias against certain kinds of people that look a certain kind of way. But I digress. In conclusion, as I said, this video would be short, and we're just over 24 minutes. Oh my God, I thought this would be, I didn't even realize I was going that long, but okay. In conclusion, Ketanji Brown Jackson is more than qualified, and the hearings have been an onslaught of culture war tactics and QAnon hecklery. Senator Cory Booker's comments on how he sees his mom in Judge Jackson was incredibly relatable, and being the only other black person on that committee, he rightfully asserted that she was well qualified for the position and that she earned the right to even be sitting there. And Judge Jackson proves again that the people most willing and capable of upholding constitutional values still exist, and this one happens to be a beautiful young black woman, and we stand that. So thank you guys again for watching. Hopefully you guys have learned something from this video, and if you'd like to look up anything else, anything in regards to the video and in regards to Ketanji Brown Jackson, links in the description below for everything that we've talked about here. And I encourage you to do your own research even outside of that. Thank you guys again for watching. My name is Jamali Senpai. You can find me on Twitch at Jamali Senpai. And you can find me right here on YouTube, uploading Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons, evenings, and on Twitter, Jamali Senpai. And I want to say that that we absolutely can make a better world for our future. And I think that this is something. Hopefully, she gets passed and actually gets to sit on that justice circuit. And this is something that I believe can help inspire more people to be better and inspire a lot more American values to be instilled. And what I mean by American values, I guess you'll just have to ask me and find out. Check the Discord if you want to link me, or if you want to talk to me, if you want to debate me on anything. And I'm more than willing to have that discussion. I want the smoke. All right, guys. Take it easy. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be dropping another video on March 25th on Friday. And then we'll see each other next Wednesday once I upload a new video on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Drop a comment if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And I will see you guys next time with style and grace. Stay safe. Bye.